Welcome to the parking lot, a monkey business podcast. Today is January the 14th, and we are back off of our show last week with Jason Dockney, who I just really enjoyed talking to. We have a a guest this week who I will actually introduce first because I have been waiting to talk to this man again ever since I met him in Atlanta. It is Mr. Anthony Pettit with TruckPark, one of my favorite truck tech companies because of my passion for the way that the industry treats the drivers. Anthony, your company is just the to me it's like one of the most simple ways to treat your drivers better is to utilize a service, like Truck Park, but obviously screw all those other people. Just use Truck Park and you'd be better off, right?
Who could argue with that?
Yes, definitely a good industry to be in. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show, Nico, John. It's a pleasure to speak to your audience about truck parking. So I'm excited.
Now, and we do have with us again Mr. John Fink, my other ringleader.
Hi there.
Hello. I do want to start off real quick by talking about your week. What have you been up to this week, Anthony?
What am I up to this weekend? Well, I will tell the world right now, for at least the people that I talk to on a daily basis already know, I actually have COVID today. It's hard to tell. I got the Omicron variant, but it's just like a little common cold, if you will, right? So like my voice is a little bit off right now, but other than that, I'm fine. So I'm sleeping, but other than that, I'm feeling fine. It's not like the original COVID or the Delta variant, which was a lot more difficult for people, especially with respiratory issues or pre-existing conditions. But for me, I honestly feel fantastic. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, my mother just tested positive earlier this week. Now, is this your first brush with COVID, or have you caught it before?
It's my first one. I honestly thought I had the natural immunity, which not a lot of people talk about, but it's possible and it's existent out there because I went through the regular COVID, which was highly contagious, went through the Delta variant, which was highly contagious, and now I'm into the Omicron, which is kind of like, at this point, it's going, as everybody knows in the industry, not the industry, excuse me, but like the world and how these viruses develop over time, right? Like this probably isn't going to be the last one, right? There'll probably be like this one. There'll probably be like maybe one or two more, and then it'll just die out, right? So it's not as bad as the original COVID was, but people are getting it still. Like my wife has it, my mother has it, and then like pretty much all our church family has it as well. So kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been hitting churches and schools really hard, which, I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing. They say that the fact that it is a lot more transmissible is also adding to the fact that it doesn't affect you as much. But I am starting to really appreciate the change in messaging around COVID. And look, you can dislike what I'm about to say. I really give zero shits. They had Anthony Fauci either this week or last week say that pretty much everybody is gonna catch COVID. It's too transmissible at this point, and people are trying to get back to their lives. We need to start looking at living with COVID as part of what's going around, like we do the cold or flu and stuff like that. And I'm all on board, man. It's been 2 years. This shit, yes, look, it could go away tomorrow, by some miracle. I believe in God. Hey, maybe he'll swing through and take care of that, whatever. But just we can't keep holding off on getting back to some sense of normalcy in the world and, you know, travel and stuff like that. We have the therapeutics, you know, if you don't want to get vaxxed, don't get vaxxed. If you do want to get vaxxed, get vaxxed. You know, let's just figure out how we get back to having a functioning society.
No, I agree. I kind of want to shift it a little bit and keep it on not truck parking, but like trucking in general. What do you, for both you and John,
Sure.
what do you believe in terms of all the truck drivers being vaccinated? Because it's become a huge issue today. A lot of truck drivers have said, absolutely not, I'm not getting vaccinated. That's caused issues. There's other truck drivers who said 100% I'll get vaccinated, not an issue. But right now it's a big, it's a big disparity in the industry. So what is your point of view on it?
Well, personally, I think it's not just even in truck driving, but I think there are some unique challenges to truck driving that I would assume, at least from my limited point of view, would be an issue. With truck driving, you're probably usually by yourself a lot, which can be a double-edged sword, being that you may be, not exposed to a lot of people, but also your immune system may not be as strong because you're just not out, I don't know, selling hot dogs at Shea Stadium or something, or like, a kindergarten worker. It was somebody working in a kindergarten that's exposed to little kid germs all day. It's a tough call. It's a tough call medically. It's the same thing with like people in the police department too. I know that, I live in San Diego and we had a huge, like a third of the police department essentially walk out when they enforced that. So it's a very, very tough call. I don't know the right answer to it personally. It's a very, very crippling thing for an industry, particularly a trucking industry that's already missing so many drivers. I think I saw in the news that the industry as a whole is missing over 80,000 drivers, some figure like that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's significant. And then to, further fracture everyone, I honestly think that the real thing is that we sort of need to give the whole medicine and politics playing footsie under the table a rest thing. That's just got to stop. There needs to be science, which is established science, and science that both sides of a political spectrum can look up and say, okay, here is a peer-reviewed subject that's not influenced by a huge corporation that's only here to make money, but there is an established scientific method, and this is how it got here, and have it all laid out properly. And I just don't think that's happening right now, which creates a lot of mistrust. And it unfortunately creates a larger degree of mistrust in certain pockets of people, whether that's truck drivers or police officers or, retirees. There's like huge groups of people that, have collectively decided to either get vaxxed or not vaccinated. And then it's affecting those specific demographics. And that's really sad.
Well, see, I look at it two different ways. First off, the word mandate just needs to die in a fire. Okay? Stop your mandates. It's really, really bad messaging, just from a narrative design standpoint.
Yeah, it's bad branding.
A mandate, first off, it carries less weight than a law, because there's really no enforcing a mandate, as opposed to saying like, oh, well, you didn't get vaxxed, so you're fired, which is shit policy. Like, I could understand if we're talking about, healthcare workers or school teachers or, people that are providing for community services or community good that are in these populated areas. A truck driver's in their truck most of the day. What does it matter to you? A truck driver is generally like the loneliest worker on the road. Leave them alone. We don't need anything else getting in the way of these people carrying our country, and I'm tired of it. Well, especially with a truck driver.
I think that's also a challenge of just industry in general, is being able to say, look, we're going to have a huge amount of turnover if we are going to require these vaccines. And so we need to be able
unnecessary.
Unnecessary or not, it's going to happen, because there are certain industries that are going to require it because, you know, they have a corporate master above them that's telling them that they need to.
Right,
So
but
they're working at someone else's direction regardless.
I think that's the problem with any, no exceptions policy. The whole reason that they started rolling this out to truck drivers was because of like the mandate against, large employers not having people vaccinated and stuff like that. And, trucking carriers are large companies a lot of the time because of the amount of drivers that they employ. So they would fall into this umbrella of, employee count, but their employees are not going into an office every day.
That's the thing.
You need to look at everything on a case by case basis when you're making any type of policy, or you just prove how disconnected you are.
Yeah.
And anything else that craps on a driver is just
absolutely
stop it.
Absolutely. No, I'm on the same page as you are. Take the mandate and honestly throw it in the trash, and then take a match and burn mandate. I mean, it's just that the whole thing is that, first of all, the trucking industry and then the drivers themselves, they're the ones that are powering our economy. So we want to start talking about economics. We want to start talking about how we can stay away from recession, how we could, help to retain drivers and avoid the driver shortage. But then, we want to get in their face and say, well, you have to get jabbed. You got to get the shot. And if you don't get it, you're fired. Or you don't get it, you can walk. But then we don't look at the back end of things, like behind the scenes. If we let these drivers go, less food gets delivered, less stuff gets delivered in general. And so that's going to be a big effect on the economy. And so that's where we got to really look at this and say, okay, well, let's not mandate it. Let's just make it a choice for the drivers. If you want to get vaccinated, you can go to the Pilot Flying J on, Jonesboro Road in Atlanta, and you can go get your your vaccination. If you don't want to get it, don't get it, because you're in your driver's seat. Now, if you're literally going to be in a truck stop, you're going to be walking around without your mask, maybe it's a good thing that you get it, right? Because then you're exposing other people, and that's necessarily not a good thing to do. But if you know you're going to be in and out of that gas station or truck stop within 5 minutes, it should be your choice. And that's all I'm going to say. I know we've kind of been talking the same thing, but it's a big passion for me as well. I mean, my uncle drove trucks. That's how I got in this business. So, I want to make sure that if I'm going to be talking on behalf of a driver, I'm going to at least want to say, like, hey, I want to give you an option, because options is going to make this industry be able to sustain itself.
Well, that's what they've had.
Just crap policies in general. Did you hear about the BNSF strike, Anthony?
I'm not sure if I heard of that. No.
Yeah, so the BNSF railroad, their union is threatening to strike because of a policy on attendance. BNSF wants to move to a points-based attendance policy where, anytime you take off for any reason is detrimental to your points and can get you fired. And it's like, really?
Wow.
You're doing this in COVID era? Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
And, you can tell me that, you're doing it because, we rely on people being in the position for, consistency and blah, blah, blah. Stop it. Stop it. You're telling people that they can't have a work-life balance. And some of these poor people are working 7 days a week, and you're telling them that if they take off because they got sick or anything like that, you're going to dock them points? Oh, it's just every single place in this industry, especially for BNSF, to make so much money right now. Their profits are through the roof, and what are they trying to do? Dick over their employees again.
We've got people. There's basically half of our city is backing up with garbage right now over a garbage strike, and the garbage truck drivers are not giving way on this, and the city is supporting them because they're basically arguing over 10 cents an hour, and the company will not budge on it.
People have now started
shipping their garbage to the actual like headquarters.
Oh,
Over the last year, I've become the most pro-unionizing person like ever, because employees, especially in the transportation and service industry, need a voice in power that gives a damn about their lifestyles. You know, I posted a picture, you know, when we got all this snow in Virginia, you know, they're talking about, you know, I live a mile and a half from the 95 overpass in Stafford. And, you know, there were drivers stuck on 95. They closed down a 60-mile stretch of 95 down to Richmond, Virginia for the snow. And these drivers were on the road for 21 hours, some of them.
Yep.
And that's an HOS violation. Like, they can get charged for that, and a lot of them will be, because, you know, the system doesn't really allow for, you know, that much of a overance in your service hours and stuff like that. But, you know, and then you look at the fact that most of them aren't getting paid for that time that they're sitting in their trucks in weather, because they only get paid by the mile. And it's like, again, every single point where we can try and take advantage of the people who are actually moving the freight and put money into people who are just making money off of their backs. Like, it's ridiculous to me.
Well, it's top down. It's that top down thinking. And it doesn't work, especially in situations like right now, where like the two things we've been talking about, COVID and really bad weather, are rampant. That kind of business model is beginning to show more and more cracks and wear and tear, just not just in the shipping industry, but in all industries. That just does not work. It's not sustainable.
Yep, definitely not sustainable.
So what are your...
No, go ahead. I just wanted to help you out. If you actually go a little bit to, I think, your left, you might be a little better. It's very sunny, obviously.
I was kind of enjoying the J.J. Abrams like lens flare thing. Yeah. For the listener at home that's not watching, Nico has a fantastic J.J. Abrams style lens flare going on.
Thanks. Yes, I do.
Yeah, it feels like a Star Trek remake right now.
It really does, and you're having fantastic weather as well. So,
so what I wanted to get your opinion on, Anthony, is if you had to pick the top 3 things that a carrier could do to better their relationship with their drivers, what would you recommend?
It's a good question. So obviously, being biased, it would be number 1, parking. Number 2 would be help with detention, right? Because you definitely want to help with detention. That's a very important factor of this industry. And then 3 would honestly really tie into 1 as well. But the 3 is just respect. Like, people lose the fact that, like, oh, well, you know, it has to be truck parking, detention, and ELD, or truck parking, pay, and ELD, like whatever variation it may be. But people lose the fact that it's just like the drivers just want respect. It's like, yeah, we want to make sure that, oh, John, go ahead.
ELD? What's ELD?
ELD. Okay. So ELD is the electronic logging mandate. And it's a device and a mandate that came out at the same time in December 2017 to pretty much tell drivers that you can no longer use the old school system where they would go ahead and just log everything through paper and send it in through fax. Now it's saying, we're going to literally put a chip in your engine, so we log every mile. If you go over that mile, we're going to go ahead and fine you. And there's a lot of compliance and regulations in the trucking industry because of that.
So, go ahead. Can I ask you a question about that? Sure. What was that a mandate?
Well, a lot of the drivers were like, I think the industry, Nico, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the industry was always 14 hours. But the drivers, because they had this, this paper, if you will, right? They would just be like, hey, I'll drive the 14 hours and submit it by fax, right? But these drivers were driving 20 hours. And then the problem with that is what has always been prevalent in the industry is insufficient rest, right? Or the ability not to be able to sleep, especially with drivers. They're always tired, and they're always going through sleep apnea, because not only are they driving all the time, but they're also afraid to go to sleep sometime because of the cargo, right? Like if you, for example, going back to truck parking, if you don't park in a secure location and you're afraid that your cargo is going to be, you're going to get robbed at night, for example, or if you fall asleep, then you're not going to fall asleep at all. So what happens with that ELD was the government designed it so that the drivers would be able to follow a strict guideline and then have more sufficient rest. But what happened is, just like everything else, when you start mandating things and making people do one thing versus what they've been doing for like the past 30 years, it's not an easy transition.
Right.
A lot of drivers have been like, this is a horrible system. I don't like it. I want to go back to the way it was. And I shouldn't say that's the entire industry. I would say maybe 50, 60%, 40% are like, this is a great thing. We needed structure, right? But to kind of get back to my point, and I'm not really sure where I left off, to be honest.
Sorry, I derailed you really bad. That was a pretty bad derail. You were talking about the three things for right, Nico? Sorry, I derailed myself.
Yeah, so I will say this because I was watching you on Chris Jolly's show, and talking especially about secure truck parking. And that was the first thing that I noticed when I looked at TruckPark as a company.
Sure.
Because you were, obviously I connected with you through TJ Knudsen, and he had mentioned your name, and I looked up you on LinkedIn and looked into the company. It's like TruckPark was one of the biggest companies that I saw that wasn't just about parking; it's secure parking. Absolutely, positively secure parking. You have to have not only a gate system, you want full visibility on the lot. Hearing on Chris Jolly's show that, you actually send people out to these locations to, actually get a feel of where the location is and how it feels to be there. That is a big thing for a couple reasons. I had always argued it about, you should want to protect, the load, for instance. You don't want a driver just sitting on the side of the road somewhere because, somebody can jack your load in the night. But at the same time, you mentioned it, or somebody else was talking about like the constructive, ways that drivers are like barricading their doors. I think it was you were talking about how you used to go up to like drivers and actually talk to them, and you would see like some of the ways that they secure their truck, because it's just a car door lock for most of them. And especially these women drivers out here who honestly have a reason to be afraid for their safety. Paying for parking for your driver should be a no-brainer, and it goes so much to that respect, because your job is to be out on the road driving, moving freight. So you don't have an office that you report to. It's in your vehicle. So when you have my freight in your possession, I should be securing both you and my freight, because you're both my assets right now.
Yep.
It does kind of seem like a really good way to create more long-term employees as an employer, is to offer that feature, especially in a time when, the supply of drivers is so short.
And as a carrier, that should be something like, as many carriers started posting on their websites, McLeod partner, Skybits partner, Keep Truckin' partner. You should have TruckPark partner right there on your freaking website if you're paying for parking for your drivers. Because not only is that going to help you in recruiting, but that's going to help you in retention. And it's a marketable thing for your customers, because I'm saying if you have a load in my possession, it's secure behind a gate where I can monitor it if something happens.
Yep. That is exactly right. We actually ran a study, and I think I said this on Chris Jolly's show, the Coach's Corner. 100% what we're talking about, like, it needs to be in a secure location. But just to even find that secure location, what companies are not realizing is the fact that it's costing them money out of pocket. And a lot of companies are like, nah, not an issue. You know, my driver will go find parking. Maybe they'll go to a Pia Flying J or TA petrol, cost them $10. Not an issue. Why would I pay $20 with you? I can pay $10. It's like, okay, but how long does it? Okay, let me ask you a question, Mr. Trucker. Let's say it's like XYZ Trucker. They have 25 trucks. Let me ask you a question. So how long does it take for that driver to find parking? Most of the time, they have no idea. They're like, I'm not sure. But the driver will be like, yeah, it takes me about 30 minutes to an hour to find parking. So the study that we collected based on mileage, based on wear and tear, based on maintenance, it costs $6,000 a year per driver just in the search for parking. So if you have 25 trucks, Mr. Trucker, then you're spending $150,000 a year for all 25 of your trucks just in the search for parking.
Well, if your driver has to drive like 25, 30 miles, from one location to another to find parking, aren't you paying for that mileage anyway?
You're paying for it anyways. But see, that it's the mindset. It's like, I don't need to pay for parking. See, I'm trying to, just like we're talking on the show, we're trying to encourage the carriers, encourage the brokers to pay for parking because it's going to retain your drivers and sustain your operations. But when I have these conversations, and it's not just me, it's a lot of people in this industry, these carrier owners are saying, no, it's not an issue. My driver, we're spending maybe a couple dollars here and there on, maintenance or repair and tow or fuel just to find a parking space, but they really have no idea how much money they're spending. And this is why I'm saying the $6,000, let's just take that figure. If you have 25 trucks and you're spending $6,000 a driver, it's $150,000. It's $150,000 a year, fuel, maintenance, just to find parking. That's not even if you're, like you were saying, Nico, earlier, what if your truck is not in a secure parking location and you get robbed? Some of these carriers are putting $1 million cargo insurance just every time they go out and pick up a load. So just think of that in perspective. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I would think that you would be able to get a break on your liability insurance if you were to be parking under like some kind of certified truck parking facility that's got monitoring, that's proper monitoring to be able to turn over to the insurance, because it would cost the insurance company less too.
Right, and reduce claims.
I would think so.
If you've ever looked for truck parking, after like, a certain time, and, it differs per area, but especially after like, 3, 4 p.m., you're not finding parking if you don't already have it reserved. The fact that a carrier, before they even dispatch a driver, could look at, a route and say, okay, this should be where they're at the end of their hours of service. Let's get them a parking space here. That way your driver has an endpoint in mind the moment they leave, and they know that my parking there is secured. Nobody else is going to take my space. Like that, to me, would go a long way in making them feel like a human and not just an automaton moving a vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think there's multiple ways to incentivize the driver and, create more efficiencies, especially from not just in parking, just in trucking in general.
Plus, a lot of your locations seem to have, like showers and stuff like that they can also access, spaces for them to get out of the damn truck and socialize with other people. It's not just about giving them a secure place to pull off the road. It's the fact that these facilities offer them so many more amenities that they have to pay extra for to get anywhere else. How many times do you see people nowadays who don't even have bathrooms open because, COVID? And, if I had secure parking, I probably also have decent restrooms.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. A lot of our facilities accommodate showers, bathrooms, repair and tow shops as well, which is great. Wow.
That's cool.
A driver, they experience a lot. That's awesome.
Aww.
See how cute that is? You guys say, oh, where are you going?
Switch break.
I learn more about parking.
Yeah. That was adorable.
Where's she going? Is she going to go take the car off for a spin and then go find parking?
Yeah. She just got home from school, so she's playing with the new dog.
Oh, yeah. That's wonderful.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Of course, though, those are the finest things in life. So I'm glad we got interrupted by that. So back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
Parking is accommodated by showers, bathrooms, repair and tow shops, which is so essential. I've seen like plugins, which is great. And I know, John, you're probably going to be like, "What's plugins?"
Yeah.
Plugins is like for a refrigerated truck. They call it reefer. Is the
Okay.
term. You
Yeah.
know what we're going to do? I wrote it down in my notes. I was going to share it after the call. Maybe we should send you a glossary of trucking terms. So
I want it. I want it. Yes, please send it to me. Give it to me. I need it.
So
I will definitely study up on that.
No, that's great. So anyway, so refrigerated trucks can go ahead and plug in, and then I really do think that every parking facility, especially if you're a new owner, right? Like you're a new operator. When I say new operators, there's just a lot of people in real estate that are trying to get in this business because they see obviously the lucrative side of making money to park trucks. But if you really care also about the industry, like you should be adding on a ton of amenities that, like you said, Nico, that you would have to go pay extra for in other places. Like Pilot Flying J, this is not nicking them or whatever the word would be, like, going after them, so to speak. But this is, Pilot Flying J, I think, charges like $8 to take a shower, and it's like $3 to buy soap. So it's like $11 by the time you take a shower. It's just like, do you really got to do that? They're just trying to take a shower. You already charge for fuel. You already charge for buying a soda pop and a sandwich, and then you already charge for parking. So you make money on all these things. You should at least have shower for free.
Yeah, plus I'm charging you for the soap too. Ugh.
And it's not even good soap. It's nasty soap, right? It's like the cheapest. It's like not even Dove. It's like literally the commercial soap that you buy in bulk.
Oof.
It
really does. Go ahead.
It'll sound like the biggest like first world problem, but like whenever I travel, the biggest thing that I look for when I book a hotel room is I look for a picture of the bathroom. I specifically go for hotels that have like the walk-in glass showers as opposed to like the tubs. And it has always been a comfort thing to me. But looking at the way that drivers, even if you have a shower, and let's continue kind of the harp on Pilot Flying J, because I've been to a couple of their stops recently. Their bathrooms are disgusting. Like, I don't want to take a shower in there. Like, you'll get dirtier in the shower than the dirt that you have on your body, and that's gross.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's gross.
It really does seem, though, like if you just think past like the first like 3/4 of the step, if you just think past the first step a little bit, like you're saving money doing this.
Well, because
it seems like a huge waste of money.
The problem is getting companies to see all the different places that not taking care of their drivers is affecting them. Because, like what Anthony said about, respect, paying for parking, those go hand in hand. The being able to say that, you'll have access to a restroom, you'll have access to, like if it's cold out, you'll have somewhere that you can go in that's heated and get like a drink or something like that, because a lot of the locations on TruckPark have like food and snack stations set up. They're actually there to take care of the driver while they're in the facility. So you're not just paying $20 for a spot. You're paying $20 for your driver to feel like they have a place to be when they are not home. And hey, they're not home because they're calling for you.
Yeah, and I would agree. And I would say with the TruckPark app, you're paying $20 for an experience. You're not just paying for a service.
Right. Makes sense. Just and you were saying that a lot of people say, oh no, I couldn't possibly spend money and I want to save money. That's like the thrust of their argument. This keeps coming back to that. It's like the thrust of their argument is even flawed. It's kind of frustrating me. Like as to not use your service, which drives it's making me a little irritated.
It's acceptable losses. Like, companies have like an acceptable amount of driver hours that they're okay with wasting. You know, it's no skin off of the company's back if that driver has to spend 2 hours looking for parking, because it's not like they're paying that driver by the hour anyway.
But
they're
in the
paying
long
them
run,
by the mile.
they're paying on more maintenance for their vehicle because it's being tooled around. And like, aren't
But
they
see,
just
those
like,
costs get dispersed like so much through the company. You know, the extra gas, the extra mileage that they have to pay to the driver, the extra insurance premiums, or
but how short-sighted is that to not know that all that shit doesn't add up? Like, that's the thing.
well,
Like,
you know what? If
especially for
people
larger
weren't
companies.
short-sighted,
Man.
Anthony would be a lot richer.
Well, let's. I'm glad we're out here broadening people's vision today. This is good.
No. They know it would add. You know what? I think it's they act like they don't know anything about the industry. That they act like they're, my drivers, they don't pay this, they don't pay that. It's really interesting because they do know that, they just don't want to pay. That's the thing. That's like what this industry has always been about. And it sounds crazy. Like I know I'm jumping over my words. I'm literally having COVID brain right now. So like,
oh man,
the problem thing is like it blocks certain things that I try to think about for some reason. But anyways, yeah, I just know that carriers I've talked to, again, I love carriers. A lot of carriers are great people, great companies, care for their drivers. But I said the same thing on Chris Jolly's show. If you're a carrier and you don't love your driver, like you disrespect your driver, you don't respect the driver at all, I'm not going to do business with you. And people think it's crazy. It's like, well, you're going to do business with me if I maybe don't pay for parking for my driver? It's like, no, it's not that. But if you like actually stand there and disrespect your driver, like I'm not going to pay my driver for that week because you missed a load. You didn't pick up the load in Kansas City like I told you to. And the driver would be like, well, my tire blew out and I had to go to a maintenance shop. Like, what do you want me to do? And a lot of carriers would be like, well, I don't care. You're fired, or I don't care. I'm taking away your paycheck for the week. It's just like it's happened in the industry, and I don't do business with those type of folks.
That was one of the best things about like working for myself is I have walked away from now 3 different prospects that just I did not like the feel I got from them in like our discussions, and I was just like, I can make that decision. I can say that I don't want to do business with you.
Yeah.
But if you're not taking care of your drivers, you don't deserve to be a motor carrier.
You don't.
Because who's carrying your shit if you don't have a driver?
Right. You just have an MC number, but you don't have anybody hauling loads. Yeah, I get it.
But anyway, I will let you. It has been so nice speaking to you today, Anthony. I hope I get to see you again sometime this year in my travels.
Hope you feel better, man.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Get lots of zinc, and there's another supplement that helps zinc get absorbed called quercetin, Quercetin. I know it's hard for the COVID brain now, but those 2 things together got me over the regular COVID, the original COVID classic back in June. So, yeah, lots and lots of zinc.
I appreciate that. Yeah, actually, funny enough here. Oh, went all over my desk.
Hey.
I have a bunch of vitamins that I take already, so I'll
perfect, man.
For the show.
In like a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. That is.
Hey, that's ambitious. I like that.
That proves that he had a lot more pills at one point.
Well, you've been hard at work, man. This is good.
They're actually all over my desk. So.
Oh, you just picked. Was it that whole bag? Oh,
yeah, I picked. Well, it wasn't already filled. It was like probably a fifth filled. But anyways, so I picked it up from the opposite side, and then it just spilled all over my desk. So. The COVID is definitely taking the win today. That's for sure.
Oh, buddy.
Thank you so much for still doing the show with us.
What a trooper, man. Thank you.
I truly appreciate you dealing with us and our shenanigans for this time. I hope to see you, as I said, sometime soon this year. I know you will not be in Atlanta when I am in Atlanta on January the 24th for our Monkey Burns Down to Georgia event with Burns Logistics. But as I have said before, Ed Burns, the younger over at Burns Logistics, spoke very highly of you as well. So I'm sorry I will not see you down there when we get down there. We talked before the show about the fact that you will probably not be at TCA, although we will be throwing an event hopefully at TCA. But I have got to get out to your area, even if just to get back to Burn Cigar Lounge. And, I'll actually smoke a cigar this time.
Absolutely. Well, I can, I've never been to Virginia before, so I'd love to try to make myself available to go to Virginia sometime this year. That'd be great. And then, John, you said in San Diego?
Yes, you're certainly always welcome.
I like to surf. I haven't surfed since I was 8, but if I can still get on the board, then I really enjoyed it when I was a kid. So I love to get back in there. My dad's actually from San Diego.
Oh, very cool.
In Escondido.
Oh, nice. Yeah. They're just a little bit north of me. I'm like right in the middle of downtown, right next to where Comic-Con is. But Escondido is so cool. It's like the coolest like combination of like beach town with like nice city behind it. A lot of people are going there right now.
Is there a bad area in San Diego? I love San Diego.
There's some bad areas in San Diego. Yeah, there were definitely like one of my very first apartments. Yeah, my car was stolen within 30 minutes of coming home from work one time. I had to make sure that certain windows were closed because the meth smoke would waft in.
Nice.
And then I had my standard thing that I would yell to the ladies of the night arguing on the sidewalk in front of my window is the cops have already been called, even though I never called. But so they would just go away and let me sleep. Yeah, there's some not nice places in San Diego.
But overall, it's pretty nice.
I'll have to look for those next time I'm down there.
I mean, statistically in the United States, it has the best weather. So and there's certainly, I mean, hospitality is one of our biggest industries. I mean, my wife is a financial director of a hotel. I've worked in hospitality for a long time. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I mean, I was born and raised here, so I'm partial to it. So
great. But let's definitely find a time to maybe I'll meet somewhere in the middle or San Diego or some. Where are you guys?
Down.
You go in Virginia? You're in
I'm in Stafford.
Yes. Okay. So
if you come out to Virginia, I will take you to lunch at the amazing restaurant in my neighborhood. I know that sounds posh, but it's not a posh restaurant. It's just really good food, and I know the owner.
That's nice. I'll look into it. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it, and appreciate you guys bearing with me and my symptoms here. But other than that, I had a really great time on the show. I love talking about truck parking, so I hope to be on again. And next time, a lot healthier, and then we can get back into more deeper discussions.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This has been The Parking Lot. Have a great week.
You too.